Hello, I'm David, and today I'm going to answer the question, is it safe to live in South Korea? 12 years ago, I moved my family, my wife, my 3 young kids, to South Korea after living in the San Francisco Bay Area for 14 years. So I've seen big city USA and big city South Korea. I'm the perfect person to have the perspective to answer this question well. Is it safe to live in South Korea? You might wonder, why did this question even come up? And here's why. Before we moved here, I had a bunch of people, family, friends, coworkers. They all did the same thing. They pulled me aside and with sincere concern, they said, is it safe to move your family there? There's that madman leading South Korea, or North Korea rather. He's always doing nuclear weapons tests, threatening war. How can you move your family like that into harm's way? You really should think about it and pray about it. Not sure you're making a good choice here. We've been here 12 years, and I'm going to go point by point through 6 topics to tell you, really, bottom line, is South Korea safe? Is it safer than America or less safe? What do I think? And as I go through each topic, I'm going to give a score, meaning it'll either be a point for South Korea or a point for America, and then we'll see which country's safer, and therefore, is it safe to live in South Korea? We'll get to the original question about North Korea at the end, but first I want to go through these 6 topics quickly. Topic number 1 is about safety on the streets. And I'll tell you a little story here to help illustrate this one. Right before I moved to South Korea, I was working in Oakland, California at a nice business district. And one morning I decided to take a coffee break, walk down the sidewalk, and get a latte. As I was walking to the coffee shop, I got attacked by a homeless person who had been crouching beside one of the buildings. This guy was big. He was about my size, and he came at me full body attack. Fortunately, I was not injured and he was not injured. How did that happen? Well, first of all, I was paying attention. I wasn't doing the walk while scrolling through my cell phone. That's a good lesson. Pay attention when walking. But secondly, having done a lot of sports and martial arts, I instinctively, when I saw him coming at me, got into a defensive stance, one arm protecting me, the other ready for counterattack if he kept coming. And our eyes met a second right before he was on me. And he had this crazed look in his eyes, but he saw, I believe, my determination and preparation. And at the very last second, he backed off. Fortunately, he grabbed his personal belongings and he quickly walked away, disappeared into the city. Whew, huge relief. My heart was pounding. This was crazy. I never had anything like this happen to me before. But the takeaway from this for me was not about me. It made me think, what if it had been my wife? And maybe my wife with 1 or 2 of my young kids, could they have fended off this attack? What would have happened to them? Turns out South Korea has almost no homeless problem at all. In 12 years here, I've only seen 1 homeless person, period. That could be another video topic. Maybe I'll explore later why South Korea has no homelessness virtually, and America has such a huge problem with that. But for now, let's just say between the homelessness and generally the streets here are so safe. You see young kids, 6, 7, 8, walking to school and after school programs. You see women walking around at 1 in the morning, going to a convenience store or wherever they're going. Everyone feels safe and secure on the streets here. So hands down, this one is a point that goes to South Korea. The streets are just much safer. Topic number 2, driving. Safety when you're driving around. And I'll tell you another story here. Right after moving here, I joined a soccer team. And one time we were driving back from a soccer match. I was in a minivan full of guys and I was riding shotgun. I was in the front seat. And we were coming up to a big intersection. We're talking 3-4 lanes every direction. And the driver needed to make a left turn through this intersection, but the light turned yellow right as we were approaching the intersection. I thought, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to stop. But instead of stopping at the red light, he sped up and he started honking his horn. Bump, 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 bump. And even though he was like 1 or 2 seconds late, he went through the red light just assuming that everyone else would react to his horn and let him go safely through the intersection late. I thought we were going to die or be in a horrible accident, but I later found out this is actually not that uncommon here. People treat traffic lights and speed limits as guidelines. Why? Turns out that Korea has this thing called bali bali, which means fast, fast. It's just part of the culture here. And it's a big part of why Koreans are so successful in studying, in business. They work hard and they get things done fast. But when you apply that to driving, it makes things really dangerous. And I've seen some spectacularly bad accidents here in my 12 years. So for sure, this one, driving safety, is a point to America. So now we have a tie. So far, the score is 1-1. Moving on to topic number 3. Personal property. Maybe you're safe on the street, but what about your things, your stuff? One more story. When I first got here to South Korea, I had a job lined up pretty quickly, and I was going to meet my new boss at a subway station. Being that I didn't know the language and the subway system well, I was about 30 minutes late and he was waiting to meet me. When we finally met, this new boss said, "Oh, let's go back to Starbucks." He had left his stuff there. We went upstairs in this busy Starbucks. There at the table was his laptop opened up and turned on, his bag with his wallet and all his daily planner. All of it was just sitting there for 30-40 minutes while he was waiting for me. He didn't think twice about someone snatching it. And even now, your stuff is just so safe in general here in South Korea. No one smashes your car window because you left a backpack or some golf clubs in view. It's really safe. In fact, if your personal property is stolen here in South Korea, the chances are is actually probably a foreigner who took it. Crazy as that is. So this point goes to South Korea. Safety of your personal property, Korea is much better. Now let's get to point number 4. But before we do, the score is now 2-1. South Korea is ahead. Topic number 4, drug use. Which country is better when it comes to drugs and how they affect people's safety? We know in America, there's a fentanyl epidemic and people are using all kinds of illegal drugs all over the place in big cities. It's a huge problem. And I had to tell my kids, like my son when he went to college in America, hey, there's a fentanyl epidemic. You never take, if the pill is not something you got from a doctor or from a pharmacy, you don't take it, period. Because people, 100,000 or so people are dying every year from the fentanyl epidemic. So drugs, illegal drugs in America, huge problem. What about Korea? Not too much illegal drugs, but there's a drug problem in Korea, and that is legal drugs, specifically alcohol and cigarettes. Because of all the stress here, so many people go out and binge drink on weekends or even after work on weeknights. It's a real problem. The cultural drinking here is really out of control, and it causes lots of alcoholism and other like problems with where people get in trouble because they can't control that drinking. Similarly, Korea has some of the highest smoking per capita, and it's only gotten worse since I moved here 12 years ago, to where now even young women, you see women in their late teens, early 20s, just standing on the street, smoking next to the guys. And that's taking 5 to 7 years average off of people's lives. So it's a different problem here in South Korea, but it's a significant problem. So who gets the point here? South Korea, America? I gotta say this one's a tie. The problem's different, but it's bad in both places. Okay, we have 2 more topics to go over. The next one is wealth security. How secure is your personal wealth? When you work hard and you make investments and you build up money, which place is safer? I gotta say, South Korea is kind of lacking here. There are so many scammers in South Korea. Of course, phishing and other online scams and scamming, it's a worldwide thing. It's in every country, but it's especially bad in South Korea. And what to me is one of the worst things about it in South Korea is I know several cases where people I know got scammed. The scammers even got caught red-handed. And then the judicial system, the courts, didn't really punish the scammers that much, which shocked me. Like, you know, if you take it that lightly, if the court system takes it that lightly, you're just going to let the scammers think, well, I'm going to do more. So scamming, I would say, seems much worse here in South Korea. And there's another financial thing that I don't like here in South Korea, and that is there's no bankruptcy. So let's say you start a business, you borrow $100,000, your business goes bankrupt after a few years. You don't get any reset. You're paying that back, even if it takes you 10 or 20 years. It's not like America where, your credit's going to be ruined by going bankrupt, but at least you can start over and you don't have to pay all that back. Korea doesn't have that. So wealth security because of the scammers and no bankruptcy, I'm giving that to America, which means the score is now tied 2-2. Interesting. Who's going to win? Final topic. I want to address the issue of weapons. Everybody knows that America is flooded with guns. People can own guns personally. Criminals have guns. They say there's more guns, or at least as many guns in America, as people. So what, 250, 260 million people? There's that many guns all over America. And so it's a serious concern. There's a road rage incident or something happens, you might get robbed, someone breaks into your house. There's a real concern that they have a gun. In Korea, there's just no private gun ownership. Guns are so absent here, nobody really even worries about it. The only time I've seen guns in South Korea is 2 cases. Police and security people, like a security guard at a bank. But their guns are, they're tiny revolvers that are so small, you look at it and you're like, is that a radio, a walkie-talkie? Or is it actually a gun? And when you look at it closely, the gun has like a metal wire that is connected to the gun and to the guard's or police officer's belt. So even if someone got the upper hand in a fight, it would be very hard for them to run away with the gun. So guns, not an issue here in South Korea. Also, knives, machetes, you hear about like all the machete gangs in London. There's none of that here in South Korea too. So in terms of weapon safety, hands down, for sure, I got to give that one to South Korea. And South Korea now in the competition is ahead 3-2. Let's get back to the final topic, the threat of war and North Korea. Will this balance it out and make it a tie again or not? I gotta say, after living here for 12 years, the North Korea threat, it's just not an issue. In 12 years, I haven't thought about it. I haven't worried about it. No one here does. And there's 3 reasons why I think it's just not a concern. Number 1, South Korea has Big Brother, the USA, watching over America so that it's just, if anything happens, America's got soldiers here, it's got boots on the ground, America's got advanced military to protect South Korea. That's number 1. Number 2, it's been 70 plus years since the ceasefire happened. In 1953, the war pretty much ended. And even though the war officially was not ended and it's a ceasefire, it's not really, no one thinks it's gonna heat up and really happen again after 70 years. And the third thing is, every young man in Korea spends 1.5 years doing military training. Everyone. So you've got, 20, 25 million men of different ages who have all had military training, and there's weapons stockpiled throughout the country. So Korea would have a standing army of 20 to 25 million men like that if war ever broke out. And boy, I'd join them. I'd pick up a gun and fight to protect this country, which I now love a lot. So yeah, it's just the North Korea threat is just not a thing. So in conclusion, with the comparison, I'm giving the win to South Korea 3-2. And overall, I would say everybody I know who has lived here or visited here for sure says South Korea just feels so safe. People have said that from Brazil, from South Africa, from Europe, from Big City USA, from New York. Everybody feels super safe here. If you want a fun place to visit, to explore, I really urge you, come to South Korea. You'll love it here. You'll feel safe. And there's this 4,000-year unique culture which you can experience all the various aspects of it. It's amazing. Final point I want to make is any place truly safe? We might say, oh, South Korea is safer than, such and such city in this country. But is any place really, really safe? There's accidents, natural disasters, crazy people, crime in every country. So in my opinion, to be truly safe, we need protection from the man upstairs, from God. So God, thank you for keeping us safe. We need your hand, your divine hand, guiding us, shielding us. And if we are safe, we can hopefully thank God for that. As we wrap up the video here, please comment if there was one topic that I covered that was either interesting or surprising to you, or if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. As this video ends, you can click here or here to subscribe or listen to another video on a different topic. And as always, I'm David. Thanks for listening, and may God bless you abundantly through our Lord Jesus Christ. I hope to catch you in the next video. Take care.